Hello and welcome back to the worst War Machine channel on the internet. I'm Malorian, and this is going to be a bonus War Machine Weekly. I think I did an extra one last week too, but for this week we had something special that happened, which was just a dynamic update that dropped, and here you go. There's some new rules, and this is for the Cygnar Storm Division. Now, I am a Cygnar and mercenary player, and I thought, you know what, let's just go in here and do some coverage of it. I can let you know what's in there and give you my thoughts on it. And because this is a special event, I got my jar full of Sambuca here. Now, I realized after doing this that I still have to record my brawler bios, so that one might be a little bit more, but it's a half jar of Sambuca. What's the worst that could happen? Anyway, what we're going to be going through is that I'll have the link down below for where it describes what's going on in the dynamic update, and I'm just going to go down there, let you know what the changes are, and like I said, kind of go over my thoughts on it. Now, before we go through any of this, let me just kind of quickly explain where I am with Storm Division right now. I own a lot of Storm Division. I basically have it all. I have, like double stormguard, double silver line. I even have those. Actually, my second unit of stormguard are actually the old ones. So they're like the garbage ones where like they're all just like sticks way up in the air. It's not they're like a whole bunch of like flag bearers. But I double lances. I even got the stupid grenadiers, so we'll be talking and seeing what happened to them. I never even bothered painting them because I think I used them in a couple of games just for the fun of it. But that's kind of the thing, is that a lot of these things just don't really work out. I had a list with Siege and Nemo 4 that was kind of making Stormblades work, but there's always just been something lacking, like that. Defense 12, armor 15 is really just victim stats. You're easily hit. Armor 15 is not enough to keep you alive. You don't threat far enough to actually kill things, but you're worth a lot of points because you have high mat. You're elite Cygnar, but there's just not enough there to actually be elite. Like the Storm Guard or Storm Blades rather are kind of clunky in the way they work, but we'll talk about that in the way they change them. So unless I'm going into the theme because I want to make like a Nemo 3 list or like a Haley 2 list, it's all like the shooting lightning, and then I'm taking storm towers and stuff and not the infantry. Like the infantry has been very much lacking. So they really need a boost, but this CID, this dynamic update is dangerous because there was no CID. There was no like, hey, this is what we're thinking about. Go and play, give us your feedback. There's like, no, this is happening. So danger zone. So let's see how this worked out. All right. First thing we're going to be talking about here is the Warjacks. And the first one is the Avenger. If I was smart, I would have pulled everything down first. I could be like, the Avenger. But the Avenger, if you don't know, is the one that has the sword, the big thick sword that has like gems in it for some reason. And then like the big huge gun on the side. Basically has a knockdown AoE gun. And it has a big POW 18 sword that has stall. It's actually been kind of like a jack that I like using because people aren't used to it. They don't see it. They don't expect the knockdown. They don't expect the stall. It's okay, Jack. What do they do to it? Well, they brought down those point costs so that now it's only 15 points. I believe it was like 18 before. So you were paying a hefty amount. Maybe it was just 16. Maybe it was already reduced. I can't remember. But 15 for that? Sure, that is now a lot more reasonable. I think that this is now a jack that, it's a reach heavy with POW 18, stall, extra things like that, knockdown gun. Sure, maybe it might go into a few more lists, not so bad. Otherwise, the next one here is going to be the Centurion. So the Centurion has been like a staple of Cygnar. Oh, actually, am I going to do a drink for between each one? I guess I'm going to have to if I'm going to get through my jar. I guess I should also say, let's do that. I'm just making this up now. I wasn't planning on doing this. Let's grade each of these as we go through. And then we'll grade the overall dynamic update once we get to the very end. So, Avenger change. Is it a thumbs up. This is an awesome change. Is a thumbs down. This is a crappy change. What are you even thinking? Or is this like a meh, who even cares? This first one here, to people like me that jank it up, it's a thumbs up. But I'm sure for like the most of the community and most of like the Cygnar players, it's like a, I don't know, they're not going to care about this too much. It's still 15 points is a hefty amount and hard to get into. But hey, if you want to have a reach jack, this is a real one that you're going to be considering over others. All right. Next one, Centurion, already did my drink for it. And what they changed here is, one, they brought down the point cost down to 16. And also, they give it shield guard. Actually, the first time I read through this, all I cared about was the point cost. And I was like, oh, sure, that's fantastic. You know, like the Centurion is such a critical thing to Cygnar, like I was trying to say before, like especially with a faction that has Arcane Shield, something that's like Armor 19 with a +2 shield with Arcane Shield on top of it, like this thing is tough. But its problem is that it's slow. The game is speeding up, and a Speed 4 Jack is having a really hard time keeping up in just more ways than one. And so nothing here to speed it up, and I don't think they should, and so that's okay. But bring it down to 16 points, I think, is a lot more where it should be with how the meta is kind of balancing out right now. And Shield Guard is just a nice thing added on top of this, because what Shield Guard does is says, okay, while you're slow and while you're in the back, you're still doing something. You're still shield guarding. So this is a hit. This is a you're going to see this all over the place. Thumbs up, thumbs up. You're going to see more Centurions, or if not, and the people are taking them already, well, great. Now you have more points for other things. And that shield guard, you know, they're already a faction that had like the little priests, that the attachments that could go in there and take the shield guard hits. But this is a solid one. We're like, yeah, I'm going to take this shield guard and I'm going to ignore it because I'm armor 24. So fantastic. I love this change. Next one, which means next drink. Defender. So the Defender Jack, you know, cannon, little hammer that can hit you and bring down your cortex. It was pretty simple. It went down to 14 points. I believe it was 16 before. Centurion, I thought it was 18 before. So kind of like 2 points down across the board here. That's good. The Defender was too many points. It is still good. Like, even at 16 points, I was like, you know, it has a good long single shot gun. It's also really good in combat. Like, the idea that every hit destroys a cortex is something that a lot of people miss. And so in those Jack versus Jack battles, it can easily just be like, ding, ding, ding. And you might not be dead, but you have no cortex. So you might as well be dead. Is this a big deal, though? I think this one is fine. I still don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of people taking Defenders. They'll be more tempted to, but the problem is that in like a world of shield guards and stuff like that, single shot attacks are not the greatest. This is one that's not an AoE or anything extra to it. It still is a good combo Jack, so it might make it in now where if people are like, oh, I got a 12-point Ironclad and I have 2 more points, why not turn into a Defender, right? So I think it's at a good spot where it is right now. I like where it is, but I think a lot of people will still shy away because they're just going to look for that absolute efficiency. But I mean, like it's leaning to yes. Like I bet you, like after like a couple of years, people are going to warm more up to it. But right now, it's going to be more of a meh. But you know, in general, a good change. All right, next one, Reliant. Apparently, Sambuca makes me more melodic. All right, so Reliant, if you haven't seen this one, and most people don't, it has electricity gun. It when it shoots, it leaves a hazard and has a big hammer that when I hit things, I can like knock it down and stuff. So it's an interesting Jack, but you didn't see it because it was too expensive. Well, what did they do? They brought the points down. So it was 14 before, I'm pretty sure. Now it's 13. And it also has accumulator storm knights, which makes sense. It's the same chassis as the Stormblade. What is that one called? Now I can't remember the other one called. The one that has the big lightning sword. Why can't I remember what that one's called? Anyways, I'm sure it's a storm something. Everybody write down in the comments how stupid I am. But that Jack also has Accumulator Storm Knight. Now this one does too. And so not only is it cheaper, which will obviously make it more popular, but the fact that it also gets a free focus just helps it all that much more. It's again another one of those Jacks where if you're taking a Stormclad, I got it. If you're taking an Ironclad and you're paying 12 points for it, one more point to take and get a Reliant, and now you're getting like a free focus, and as well you get a gun, like that's a hell of a deal. Like a lot of times now, you might look at this and say, why are you taking an Ironclad? You should be taking this Reliant instead for one more point. You know, almost looking at the Nomad and the Toro type thing. Now, I believe its hammer is only POW 17, so it is weaker. It doesn't have the tremor, blah, blah, blah. However, you know, having that combination of gun that leaves a hazard and an okay weapon, even if it is POW 17, is something to be considering. So this is another one where I'm sure, like just like the Defender, people are going to be like, meh, who cares? But over time, as people realize that the comparison of like, you're taking an Ironclad, you should start taking this. This is a thumbs up when you really look at it. Next one is going to be the Thunderhead. So Thunderhead, that's the good old DJ. Arms out. This is the character. Well, yeah, it's a character Jack, although it's nobody's character, no Bond. But it's the one that is like the pulses and all that awesome stuff. I got to remember the drink. Its point cost went down from, I believe it was originally like 22, went down to 20, and now it's 18. So working the right way. And now its punchy fists are going to be 18. And I believe those were just 16, went to 17, and now they're 18. So again, they keep on dropping the points, keep on upping its ability to punch and just do things that aren't just shooty, zappy. And that's really important, because if we're like pulsing and killing infantry, that's one thing, but what do you do when there's no infantry? Like, I guess you can two-handed throw stuff, but it really sucks to be paying 20, 22 points for like this big character Jack that's not doing anything fancy. So 18 seems like the right spot. Do I think that it's going to be taken? I still think that whoever took it before, extremely rarely, is still going to be taking it. And I feel like they're going the wrong way. For them to say you're going to be having stronger punches, why? Like, I realize from a game design reason of like, yeah, you want to be punching and do more damage. Like I said, if I can't zap you, I'll punch you. But that's not what the Jack is about. The Jack is about, I'm going to zap you. I would rather it was improved something along those lines. Like maybe whatever I zap is also disrupted or something like that. So I feel that this improvement is a slap-on improvement that it sure makes it better, right? I can't argue it makes the model more powerful. However, I don't feel it's in the right direction. I mean, maybe give it two modes, right? One range is like zap, I hit everything within like the 6 inches, or maybe I do a spray template and so I can go out further, but it's smaller, right? Like things like that to make it more versatile, I think would be a lot more if we're trying to improve this than what they did here. So personally, I feel this is a thumbs down, because you're not going to see this out there still, except for the people janking it up like me, putting it on, you know, like Kane Zero. And I don't even like the direction they're going with it. So this one's my thumbs down. All right, now we're on to the units, and this is where things get very interesting. So let's talk about good old Stormblades. So Stormblades before were weird. They were weird because you would look at the card and see one thing, but it was a lie. Because if you were by the leader, well, then your guns got +2 range and your damage got +2 as well. And so it was this weird game of trying to play like, okay, be very careful, keep these things by the leader. Oh, there's a UA, okay. Oh, I can add gun attachments. Like try to balance, like there's one thing to keep it in command for making sure you're within command of your unit. And it's another thing to be like, and also be within this range of your leader so you do extra damage and have extra range. And so they took that out of here. So they took it out. Now, pretty much to balance all these things, all their gun ranges are just 6. All their weapons are now just P plus S 15. That's fantastic. And they also just normally get assault. Like, range 6 seems garbage, and it is. But you have to realize that the UA used to give it assault, and now they just have assault anyway. So pretty much as they're charging in, they go and they shoot and they do some extra damage. Also, keep in mind that while you have your little gun attachments, if they hit once, everybody hits. And these are power 14 guns. So, like, this is significant. Back in the old day, these used to do AoEs and do extra, like, boom. You're like, that unit's just decimated. Now we're seeing more heavies and stuff. But you got to think, like, if I'm charging an Archon or whatever, one of these things hit for my 3 weapon attachments. And then, boom, that's a lot of power 14s. Get that Archon out of here. So that is a great change, just to throw it on there and just make the unit easier. I mean, it used to be you look at the back of the card and there's now nothing on the back of the card. The other thing they did here that you're going to be seeing across all the infantry is +1 defense. So now instead of being defense 12, they're defense 13. Okay. I mean, it's still not fantastic, but it makes them a little bit harder. Now, when it comes to the grading and talking about these guys, thumbs up for making them easier. I mean, obviously, taking a unit that was just complex and like, and just were just, some people didn't take them just because of how weird they were. Now they just made them easier. So that's fantastic. The Def 13, okay, I guess so. I mean, like, the thing is that it's still not that much. And I kind of think it's kind of more speaks to the fact that as people push up the mat and defense, it's kind of like an escalating war that's going on. And I'd rather just stop the war than continue escalating, right? Like, it used to be that regular defense was like 12. If you were a little bit better, 13. If you were like a ninja, 14. Now it's like if you're a normal person, 14. If you're a ninja, 17. Like, everything's moved along. And of course, Matt's done the same thing. It used to be like 6 was the average, 7 was elite. And now it's like, if you're not 7, you're trash. I look over at my Cephalix at Mat 5, and they're just like hot garbage, right? So, like, I would rather they stop this escalation rather than just keep bumping everything up. But if they decided this is the line we're going to stay at, sure, that's fine. Let's bring these guys in line and then leave it there. So overall, thumbs up, because even though I'm like worried about this escalation, the main thing is that this unit went from crazy complicated to just being simple and let's go hit you with lightning swords. All right, let's talk about their UA. So the UA used to be the one boss guy and then the guy with the banner. It's kind of weird that we still have banners in this game. But the main reason why you take them is because the banner before would make it so that it was harder for you to fail fear checks. That's not part of the game anymore. Now it makes it a larger command, which was stupid, because if you have this unit that has to be by the leader, but you have a banner that makes it so you can spread out more, that's just like counteracting itself and trying to make you be a bad player. They changed this all up here, and like the leader guy used to make it so you had the assault, and now of course that's going to be changed to something else. So what do they have? Well, of course, just like the other guys, their range went up to 6, their P plus S went up to 15. They now automatically have assault. All good. And now what they grant is relentless charge. And this is nice because this is really your elite hitters. And the fact that you would have like a fence and be like, oh no, now I can't charge, was devastating. So I really like having that on there. I mean, if it was just on the unit, that'd be like, well, why does terrain matter anymore? But having the UA bring it in is like a real, like, okay, if I want to be able to deal with UAs, and be able to deal with terrain, I put on the UA. So I like that this is now there, and basically give them Pathfinder for that. And otherwise, their defense goes up to 13 because that's what they do. Now, what do I think about this? This is going to be another thumbs down. I'm sorry. And the reason why I think it's a thumbs down is because if it was really just the fact that, like, okay, we're making them like the other guys, and then we're also making it so that they have relentless charge of the thing being added. okay, that's a meh. And then like you could almost, like I was talking about, like, okay, that's a good something to put on there that's kind of leading to a thumbs up, even though it's a very, it's not like super flashy or anything, but hey, it's nice to have that there. Here's what I'm upset about. This UA, the officer, has Jack Marshall. And Jack Marshall, as it exists right now, is weak. If you are not having Jack Marshall that also has a drive that gives something, and then probably again going into something like into the mercenaries theme where it also gives you flank, people don't take it because it's too weak. And one of the things that's always so cool about this officer is that it's a Jack Marshall. But why? Like there's back in Mark II, it kind of made some more sense sometimes because it was a little bit more useful. But right now, there's just no reason. And I really wish that officer had something else that developed that little extra piece to what it was. I mean, as it stands right now, sure, Relentless Charge is nice, but for the points, I might just rather add in 2 Storm Gunners instead. Why would I add the UA when I could just add 2 models that have better guns and likely add more to me if I can work around terrain than what these guys do? And so to me, the most interesting piece of this was that Jack Marshall, and they did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. So it's kind of like my thumbs down when it came to Thunderhead, where I kind of feel like this was just kind of something where like they made the unit easier and then just pushed the easy button for the UA instead of making it truly interesting. So to me, this was a opportunity lost. Sure, it works. And obviously if they normally have assault, they have to have something else. But this is just kind of boring. And I'm going to give this one a thumbs down. All right. Another part of the Stormblades, I've already been talking about it. It's the Storm Gunners. What'd they do to these guys? Nothing. They, because they got assault just like the regular guys. Their weapons went up 2 POW because now they're automatically getting it. So now these are POW 14 guns and their defense went up to 13. Sure. It's basically, we did this to the regular infantry. So because of that, we have to do this over here. Meh, sure. Like, there's not a thumbs down. Like, I don't feel they needed to overdevelop them like the UA. This is just like, sure, we're raising the bar, and so the bar's here. That's it. Storm Guard Infantry. All right, so what they did to Storm Guard Infantry is, one, they gave it Wall of Steel. So now when they're base to base, they get +2 armor. Okay, so that the paltry armor 15 is going to go up to 17. So that means that now if you're getting shot with POW 10s or something, or AoEs, it's a little bit harder for them to kill you. Okay, I'll take it. They also had here going up to defense 13, just like everything else. They also changed the way the guns work. So if you guys haven't seen the leaders, where is it is? A regular Storm Guard would look something like this and be like, hey, I have a big weapon. And then you'd have this UA that has this crazy big gun. And it's the same thing for the Silver Line. The Silver Line oh, that's the wrong guy. The Silver Line are missing? Oh, here they are. The Silver Line, which I have not painted, were exactly the same, but had a backpack. That's literally the difference. I also clipped off the things from the weapon to make them slightly more different. And then the UA had like a magic wand thing. So basically they would go in, hit stuff, and then they'd have a gun. And so before the Storm Guard would like shoot and do like an AoE and kill a few more guys maybe, and then the Silver Line would actually add on some electrical damage. It was minor, it almost never mattered, but it was something they did. They kind of swapped those. So now the Storm Guard have it on their gun. So for the leader, if it hits something, it gets +2 damage to electrical damage. And this is going to double up with the Firefly. So just like how the Firefly can go out there and be like, +2 damage, these guys could shoot something and then get another +2. Here's the problem. They're not our good ranged unit. They're like Rat 5. So it's almost a thing where like you're shooting a heavy and hoping for like a 7 if it's defense 12, or because if it's an AoE, you're hoping it doesn't scatter off. Now, that has gunfighter, so you could like charge in and then like kill one thing and then gunfighter shoot it, or quick work is the word I'm looking for. Quick work and gunfighter. So kill one thing, quick work, gunfighter. Now it can't scatter off you, extra damage. But if I'm doing that, now you're actually engaged and your defense is higher. This is a very weird one that I don't think it's going to be adding in there. I can see the idea of taking like a min unit where if you could be paying 8 points for a Firefly, you could be paying 7 points for a min unit here and be like, okay, most you guys are like up there in the way, maybe doing like some Electro Leap silliness. The gun guy is going to stay back and try and do some extra damages out there too. But at Rat 5, again, maybe if you were like layering this, so if it's with like a Storm Strider, it gets +2 to hit, so then it's Rat 7. But it's like, I don't know if it's really worth those points. I'd almost just rather have a Firefly. So it's interesting, but it's not all the way there. So what do I think about this change? I mean, it's obviously in the right direction. More armor, more defense. That's good. The gun thing, I think it needed like dual attack or something so that when you're charging in, I could actually like charge the heavy I'm going at or something and then shoot it as well. But even then, like I said, you're raising its defense by being there. So it's such a weird unit right now. I don't really feel that's what it should have done. And that doesn't seem right for what this is. And I don't know what it should be, right? Like, maybe it should be a thing where, like, they charge in and they hit stuff, and then once they're done hitting stuff, it does this, and it, like, pulses things back, right? It's like the Angelius for the Legion, where it's like, okay, now back up, get out of here. All right, now that you're not engaged, shoot them, boys, and, like, more things come in. Something like that, I don't know. But this is just such a weird effect to have on there on a Rat 5 model. So I'm going to put this one as a meh. You know, I almost lean towards like thumbs down, but I do see uses, right? Like this idea of taking a min unit where the one guy is there for the shot and everybody else is just there to get in the way. Maybe people might take it, but I have a hard time seeing it. You know, that's a lot of points for infantry that dies very easily in this meta still. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, Silverline. And it's hard for them to go wrong here because nobody took Silverline before. So as long as they're not hot garbage, they'd be better. And I guess I should say, like, the big difference here is that whereas these guys would hit things in Electro Leap, the Silverline, if they're in base to base, you couldn't charge them. So what you did is just shot a couple, made it so they weren't base and base, and then charged them. So what did they do? Well, a lot of their things are exactly the same. They got Wall of Steel, so +2 armor if they're base to base, and these guys want to be base to base anyway for that polarity field ability, because they only got that. You can't charge us if we're base to base, so having an extra incentive to be the base to base, sure, why not? They also went up to defense 3. Their points came down. That was good. For whatever reason, there were more points. So why? And as well, they kind of changed the way their guns worked. And so the way that their guns work now is that if they hit something, it has a voltaic snare, kind of like Nemo, where Warjacks hit are -4 defense, can't run or charge, or make slam or trample power attacks for a round. Now, this one is actually a little bit more interesting because what this does is that you can now charge in, do this, and whereas the other one was weird because like, haha, you now have +2 lightning damage to you, but you're engaged, your defense is higher. By doing this, the -4 defense mitigates the being in combat, so that's just a straight across, and you now can't run, charge, blah, blah, blah. So when you're truly going in and your purpose is I'm going to hold back this jack so it can't get the rest of my line, if it can't charge, trample, slam, okay, now it is really stuck up here and it's going to be very hard for it to get to anything else. So I like this. I like this idea of I'm going to come up base to base, extra armor, you can't charge me. And then after that, and again, like I said before, they do like little shots before to try and break you up. That +2 armor might be just enough to stop that from happening. And then charge in, lock you down over there, and hold you back. I like that. I like what they did here. This one's a thumbs up, whereas the other one was like, ugh. All right. Next one, Stormsmith Storm Tower. So, one of the things they did here is first of all, what was it? For those who didn't see these things, and I don't think I've painted one, they were just the artillery. It was a Tesla tower with 2 dudes. We'd shoot you and we'd electroleap. It wasn't overly bad. It wasn't overly good. Nobody took it. So, what did they change it to? First of all, they made the gunner's speed 3, so the artillery can move a little bit faster. All right. Next thing, they also made it so that it has part of the storm call ability. So what this does is that attacks made with this weapon ignore concealment, cover, and stealth. And that's really nice because already your little like storm callers were ignoring those things, but for some reason this tower didn't. It makes me wonder if they're going to add it to other stuff. Like, will the Storm Strider get this rule? That'd be awesome. But sure, I mean, like, ignoring these things make it more accurate. You can actually be hitting stealth stuff. So sure, why not? It also took away critical disruption. And of course, on something that can't boost, a critical effect was like never happening. And now it is just straight disruption. That's fantastic. That now means that if I take this one little artillery piece and be like, pew, you're disrupted. That's it. It's kind of like when the people take Iris for that, except that this is just like a cheap storm tower that you can be taking as a wreck option. This is fantastic. This is now not something that you'd be taking for like, okay, pew, get 1 electroleap. I hope I killed 2 things. Now this is like shoot your heavy, disrupt it, and now go and electroleap to something else too. This is great. I love this. This makes this now have a tactical reason to take this to be sniping out stealth things and for just be disrupting jacks. This was a great change. Thumbs up. All right, Grenadiers. So, before, Grenadiers were garbage. Hot trash. When I got the blister, because I only got 1, because I thought, okay, I want to own everything in a faction, but I don't want to add any more than that. Mine didn't come with one of the arms, and I was like, screw it. Let's just add on like an elf sword. So from like high elves in Warhammer, I just gave it like a high elf sword, because who cares? And again, who cares? Because I didn't use it. I used it in like 2 games ever. They were trash. I never took them. And so what do they do to make these guys better? Because what they do before is go in, throw some like AoEs, not kill anything, and die. So what they did is, first of all, brought down the points to 5. That's good. I think they were like 6 before. I can't remember. They weren't worth it because they didn't do anything. But the defense actually went up to 14. So when you're looking for something that's not like now like a respectable defense 14 is respectable. And that's something we're like, okay, we're now looking at something where they could get in there and actually be a real nuisance. They also got AD, Advanced Deployment. So that was another problem, is that they be deploying with the rest of your line. And so whereas the rest of your line would normally be central, they might be stuck like on the flanks and like not really doing anything. And so now they can be AD and be that first attack going in. The other thing they gave them was Repo 3. Now, when I'm looking at what people are saying about them on the internet, they're expecting these guys to go in, throw their grenades, and then repo back. No, that's not what these guys are going to do. They're defense 14. They're going to get in there, throw their grenades, repo forward to jam. And that's going to allow all the stuff behind it to get in like a charge range for next turn. So I like these. These are now a very interesting disruption piece that are going to be that first wave. Like before, I think that was kind of like the idea. They were supposed to be this, but the way that things worked out, it just didn't do that. Now the idea that they could be like 6 inches forward because they're AD, and when they go in there starting throwing grenades, and then they're getting repoed closer and defense 14, that's actually something that might be worthwhile. So will they be taken? I don't know, but this is exactly the direction that they're supposed to go. So even though I think that will you see it in the meta will be like meh, if not like thumbs down, of course not still. I actually think this is a thumbs up. This is like a direction that they should have gone with the way of this model. And I really like this. So you might not see this. You might not see this ever. But I really feel that this is the way that this model, this unit was supposed to go. So thumbs up to PP for this one. All right, solos. Man, this next one, this Brawler Bios, tune in because apparently Malorian and his not drinking during most of the pandemic should have maybe been drinking more to toughen up that liver. So, talking about solos now and the Stormblade Captain. So, if you don't know what the Stormblade Captain is, that's this dude. And what he would do is he would stand around and what did he even give before? He gave Tactician. Sure, why not? I think a lot of, did I even mention that? I think a lot of things actually gained basically Tactician as well. I'm not seeing it here. Did I miss it? I don't know. But yeah, so he basically just ran around and was a solo just for Tactician. So what did they do with him? He went from 5 points to 4, which doesn't really matter because normally when you took him it was for free as a rec choice. He went from defense to 12 to 13 like everybody else. And then he also got Desperate Pace for Stormguard. This is great. This is really good to have on here because the biggest problem, like I was saying, with your Stormguard and Stormblades, it has the Desperate Pace for both, is that they were too slow. They couldn't actually get in there and do the effect they wanted to. They were always getting alphaed and destroyed. Now, this is going to be helping them just get in there when you need them to. So I like this change. This is exactly what this captain needed to be. Something that would actually give them a real benefit. I kind of wish that its weapon would have gone up in power as well. Can't get everything. Thumbs up though. This is the right way for where this model is supposed to go. All right. Lieutenant Gwen Keller. And this one makes me angry, so let's take a drink. Why does this model make me angry? It makes me angry because I don't have it. Why do I not have Gwen Keller? Because you could only get her if you bought the Iron Company box, which was like $75 for the side game that I didn't want to even play. I hated the fact that PP made this an exclusive to that, and now they made it really, really good. So they are going to be doing like a separate release for it now, but this came out years ago. This should have been available outside of the Iron Company years ago. So a little bit of anger. Let's move on. So what did she do before? She was boring. She was like a solo. She was basically a solo one of these idiots. The Grenadiers. She was a solo that went around, threw some grenades. Not really good. So what is she now? Well, instead, her point cost went down to 4. Again, doesn't matter because usually she's free. Her defense went to 13 like everybody else. Sorry, wrong. Look at the wrong thing here. Her point cost went down to 5. I think she was 6 before, went down to 5. Her weapon power went up to 14, blade up to 15, just like everybody else. But here's the big thing. Her leadership, Storm Knight, is now giving them all Force Barrier, which is getting +2 defense against shooting. So now, not only was it before like, okay, defense 12, pew, 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 you're all done. Now, your defense 13, Force Barrier up to 15 against shooting. This is great. This is going to keep you alive and make sure you're not just being shot down like nothing. I really feel like if you're going and taking a actual Storm Division list that has lots of infantry, this is a must-have. You have to have this in there because it is just so critical to actually making sure you get there and actually get the combat. Plus, at the end of the day, she also gained flank, so she is hitting hard, right? Like, she went up to 15, but now with flank, she'll be POW 17 and just be like cranking things. So really, sorry, no, POW 15 additional die. So basically becomes a weapon master. So she is going to be doing so well for you. Going to be a free choice. Who cares about the point cost? But is now a must-have because of that whole force barrier. So as far as what they did with her, thumbs up. She is great now. She is just the support solo that you would expect to have in a primary faction, primary theme within a faction. However, PP, and this is a little bit separate from this video, PP, thumbs down for making this Iron Company. Get that model out now. All right, let's move on. Next thing we're going to be talking about is the Stormcaller. So the Stormcaller was this weird model. Where are you? Here you are, buddy. So these guys were these little solos that used to be crazy in Mark II because it would be zapping down everything. You'd be doing like triangulations between them and zapping multiple things. And now they're ignoring. They actually have to like roll the hit now, and they don't do well, and people don't take them because you have to take them as a pot of 3, and you have to pay 5 points for them. So sometimes you take them for free, but normally not. Now, what do they do with them? First of all, the point cost is 1. Well, wait a second. So you get 3 for 1 now? No. Now, they're just solos. You don't buy them as a package of 3. They're just a solo FA9, and you can pay for 1 point to get them. This is great. They're also Def 14. So what this really means is that now in Cygnar, if you're going through and you're 1 point down and you're like, oh, I can't do anything, I guess I'll play 1 point down. Now, no. Now you have these guys. You just throw a Stormcaller in there, right? So I love this. I think every faction should have a 1 point model. The way it was working before was weird, and this is just way better. 1 point for these guys makes sense. Going up to defense 14 for like these dodgy frontliners, I like as well. So this is a thumbs up. This is an easy thumbs up. Every faction should have a 1 point option to balance things out and make sure you can get to even points. And here we have it. So this is great. All right, next one here, we only have 2 more, is going to be Sir Dreyfus the Storm Knight. So this is the RideQuest model, which I poorly gave away. I got the first RideQuest box, got all these guys, and I thought, like, Sir Dreyfus, I don't really care about him. One of my friends really wanted it. I traded away. I regret it. This guy's great. He jumps around, does big damage. He's cover. Like, he's there with his shield protecting your caster. It is fantastic. It is a great choice to take if you're in Stormguard. So what they do with it? It's defense 13 now. You know, if everything else is going to defense 13, it has to as well. Sure. Okay, why not? You know, like, it's just a little bit better. It's a meh change. I gotta say, it's not a thumbs up. You don't get anything big star on this one. It is, sure, everything's going to 13, so this one's going to 13 too. I'm not going to give it a thumbs down because it needs to be more developed. I already felt it had a very specialized role. This was like, sure, meh. Whoever took it before is going to take it now. It's not a big difference. Last one, and this is going to be a big difference. Savio Montero Acosta. That's this boy. And he is also known as Turbo Douche for a reason. Because for whatever reason, you know, like, you're like, okay, so he's a bald guy that is a Stormblade, but has 2 swords. All right, well, he's probably like the other Stormblades, right? No. He's speed 7, defense 15, and if you miss him, he gets to not only dodge, but hit you back. He's Mat 9. He's a monster. He's a weapon master. He's crazy. If you were hearing my last video talking about the idea of mercenaries, that's him. He's supposed to be this super crazy dude that goes around all of Immorin trying to increase his skill and just trying to fight for coin and moving to place and proving his worth. And he's amazing. So what'd they do to him? First of all, they changed his subtype to being Mercenary, Ordic, Storm Knight, Thammarite. Okay, he wasn't really a Storm Knight before, even though he had all the things, and I kind of felt okay with that because he wasn't a real true Storm Knight as far as I understood it. He was kind of like a mercenary that like got Cygnar stuff, but whatever. I feel that the biggest tag here that's going to matter is the Ordic, right? Now that we know that Ordic is going to be coming out later, there's going to be some Ordic keywords that's going to matter. This will matter there. So that's a look ahead. Then it's the normal things where the weapon, because it's a Stormblade weapon, went up to the POW 14 when you shoot it and a P+S 15 normally. Wow, this is a big deal. Like, it doesn't seem like much, but before, remember, he wasn't a Storm Knight. He wouldn't be getting that bonus, but because the regular Stormblades got that bonus to them, where now they're better and you don't have to worry about it. He has the same swords, and so this is now a Mat 9 POW 15 Weapon Master 2 attacks. Like this guy just kills Archons like they're nothing. Just like choo choo, let's go. You're out of here. So Savio was a 6-point model before, well worth it, did great things. And so for those that took Acosta before, they're definitely going to take him now. For those who didn't take him before, they're definitely going to take him now. Maybe. There's still a lot of times you might not take him, but it is fantastic. Like, this guy's a murdering machine. Like, if you just thought, like, POW 15, let's add in the Weapon Master, and even though that adds like basically 3.5, let's say 3, this is 2 POW 18 attacks. Like, that's going to kill that Archon. Just like bing, bing, Mat 9 easy. Like, that is so good. So, is this good though? Is this a good change? Sure. I think there's too many Archons in this meta, and anything that's anti-Archon is thumbs up for me. So, thumbs up for this change. It's good to have like this super crazy mercenary, and I love what they did here, right? He's just kind of like leaning into what he's supposed to be doing, and if this is making people lean away and be scared with Archons, good. That's exactly what we wanted. Thumbs up. All right. That's everything. They didn't change anything to like the theme, to like what you could take or the benefits or anything like that. But that's all the real changes there. I believe that there's more things that they're not talking about here. Like, I believe your Stormguard and Silverline could actually move through each other normally. I don't know. I didn't want to check it up during the video here. But these are the main changes as defined here by Privateer Press. And so how do I grade this overall? And, you know, I got one more grade to do. I got the little abyss left here in my jar. Let's do it. That was a healthy swig. All right. This was a surprise dynamic update for Storm Division. Was it good? Was it good for the game? Thumbs up. Let me explain. So the reason why I like this is that this update, as in terms of how it's going to affect the meta, is a meh. Stormguard, Storm Division was not really seen before. It was weak. It was garbage. It was infantry. Infantry is dying. Nobody would take it. Now, after the changes, infantry is weak. Infantry is garbage. They're not going to take it. However, this had a lot of other pieces that you are going to see, right? You are going to be seeing things like the Centurion. That'll be the first one, right? Everybody liked the Centurion before. You're going to see it now. Now it's going to have Shield Guard, immediate effect, right? Other stuff you're going to be seeing too is stuff like Acosta. Good before, amazing now. For those that love Stormguard, sure, you can now take them, and it's moderately better. You're not going to be winning any tournaments, but you're not going to be dead last, right? Like, it's giving you something a little bit more. And I think that's what I wanted from this. I mean, like, honestly, what I really wanted from this was a full CID. I wanted a full CID where they could actually really take it to the next level and make sure that this is a very viable option for Cygnar players. They didn't do that. I don't understand why. I don't know if there's like a timing issue or why they didn't do the full CID. They went straight to dynamic update. And like I said, that is danger zone, because if they screwed something up here, that's it. It's in there. It's probably going to be in there for 2 years until they errata it or something like that. So I liked that they took everything as it was and made very simple changes to bump it up closer. I know that a lot of Cygnar players out there will be like, oh, but come on, like I've been waiting. Give me a really good Storm Division list because I want it to be a viable option. And PP could have done that. They could have gone forward and said, hey, we're going to do, like whatever, add something crazy so that they're really, really, really good. But I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that where every single dynamic update, it's like, ooh, that's the good faction now. Jump over. Okay, next dynamic update. Ooh, that's the good faction now. Let's go over. I want to have a level of balance. I want the bad stuff to be getting better, and I want the good stuff to be nerfed and find an even plane. And that's what this did. This took Storm Division, which was a low power theme, and brought it more in line. It didn't bring it so in line that now it's like top table, but it did bring it up to a respectable manner. And at the same time, even if you're playing other things, there's pieces in here that you're still going to get benefit from, right? If you're, like I said, if you're a person that normally takes an ironclad, rethink that. Re-wonder if maybe, hey, pay 1 more point and get a Reliant, or pay 2 more points and get a Defender. These are now things you should really be asking yourself. Or hell, 3 more points to go janky and take the Avenger, right? Like, these things are now far-reaching past, and it should challenge our Cygnar players to be thinking about this. And if nothing else, you now finally have that 1-point option, so you're no longer going to be seeing lists that'll be like, just, I got 74 points. Nope, take a Stormcaller, you're now there. So overall, I give this a thumbs up. It moved it in the right direction. There's a few things that could have been pushed more in a better direction, like Thunderhead. That really is not the direction I wanted to see it go. But overall, we have a weaker theme that's better, and I like it. I think that the people that play it, I know people that love this theme, and they should be still happy with this, right? This is not something where it's like, oh, wow, this is going to be crushing everybody, but this is now giving you more of a bone in the fight. This is giving you a better chance out there, and this is what you really should be asking for, right? We don't want to fix things by making new problems. This is fixing something that was broken and making it no longer broken. And that's great. That's what I want to see. So there you go. There's my glass of Sambuca. There's my rating of this whole dynamic update. I hope you agree. If you don't, post it down below. This is a nice, longer, chill video. And now I have to go do a Brawler Bios. So go check that one out. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.